had something that you needed to do that was so important? Let's say whether it was studying for a test, whether you were getting ready for work, or whether you had to be at a job interview, or let's say you were trying to pay a bill that you didn't quite have the money for. You got it done, didn't you? Have you ever asked yourself, why is it that we can get something done that we need to do versus something that we want to do? My name is Sir. And yeah, that's my real name. You see, my dad, he was in law enforcement, and his entire career he has addressed people as sir and ma'am. I'm the youngest of 10 siblings. He said his last son, he would name him Sir, so that people automatically had to address him with respect. But you see, the thing about respect is something that is not only received, but it must be given as well. I remember being in elementary school, going down to the nurse's office and weighing in on the scale. And I'll never forget, in 5th grade, I was 150 pounds. My parents grew up less fortunate than I was. They always said when they had children that they wanted their kids to be better off than they were. They always wanted them to have more things than they had. That included food. There was never any shortage of food for me. And unfortunately, it was something that I began to develop as a crutch. That guy right there, that's me at 500 pounds. That was my heaviest weight. It was a different state of mind for me because at that time, I didn't think that I would see tomorrow. I always told myself, I'll start tomorrow. And for some cosmic reasoning, tomorrow just kept on coming. Till one day I decided that I was going to start today. I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew that I wanted to change. There was definitely some self-doubt, probably even a little bit of self-hatred in there. But the biggest thing that I wanted was a change for myself. So I started. I took it one day at a time. I had a surgery from my weight being so heavy that it bowed out my legs, to I had to have a corrective surgery in which I had to learn how to walk all over again. That taught me how to get back up. I began to run races. I began to run upstairs. But most importantly, I began to run my life. What made me change? What made me start living my life with more purpose? What made me want to start doing things differently than the way that I had been doing? I started one day at a time. Deep down inside, I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew that I wanted to see a change. Picture this. When's the last time you tried to start a fight with 10 people? Let's say 50 people. When's the last time you tried to start a fight with over 300 people at once? Doesn't even make sense, does it? But we live our lives this way. You can't live more than one day at a time. And you have a much better chance of fighting one day than you do a week, a month, or a year. You see, that was a concept that I had to wrap my mind around. That was a way that I had to focus on taking it one day at a time. One day turned into 2 days turned into a month, and I looked up and I started to see results. Those results were what motivated me to continue on. Have you ever felt stuck? Like you were in a rut? It's like we want to make a change, but we don't know what that change is, let alone how to make it. It's like you have 1,000 ideas in your head on where you should be, but you have 10,000 reasons on why you shouldn't do any of them. It was like that for me when I first started. Why are we doing this? You've been like this your whole life. Why do you want to change it now? This is too hard. Let's just quit. Let's just go back to where things were safe. let's go back to the comfort zone. There's an old saying that says we are our own biggest enemy, but nobody knows us better than we know ourselves. So if I know my competition and I can join my competition, it almost seems better to, since I can't beat them, then I should join them. That was one of the concepts that I had to use in order to overcome the obstacles that were standing in my way. And I was the only obstacle that was truly standing in my way. So once I moved myself to the side and began to work with myself for myself, that's when I really started to see a change. I probably say I was about 50 pounds into my weight loss journey when I was actually on a road trip pursuing a career in music. And I got devastating news on the road that my mother had passed away. That was some of the hardest news that I had to take, and that was one of the hardest flights that I had to make back home. You see, my mother, she was a school teacher. She taught kids her entire life the importance of education. After that ordeal, I felt as though I owed it to her to complete my education. It was at that time that I decided to go back to college, where I pursued my degree in psychology. Before I even got enrolled into the college, I was greeted with more bad news when I found out that my sister had passed away at the age of 33. Those were by far the most traumatic events that I had to go through mentally and spiritually. But I learned a lot through those situations. I learned that hard work was not something that only applied to my physical efforts. I learned that hard work was going to be required to get through those rainy days. I learned that taking it one day at a time was a method that I had already had practice in, and that it was just a prerequisite that was preparing me for this. I also learned the power of resiliency, and I learned that I could get through whatever it is that I truly set my mind to. It was going through those tragedies that I found my passion. I found my passion because whether it was losing weight, losing loved ones, I realized that I was able to turn that negative energy into positive energy that fueled me. I realized that there were so many people around me that were going through their own struggles, they were going through their own obstacles, in which sometimes they might not even known what they needed to do to overcome those situations. I started quality service because I wanted to inspire, empower, and motivate individuals to realize that you can do whatever it is that you set your mind to, whether it was through my music, whether it was through speaking, or whether it was just through sharing my testimony. I wanted to let the world know that you can do whatever it is that you set your mind to. The question is, what is it that you want to do?